This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program News Analysis, now we bring you a discussion on cabinet decisions. The participants are Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Neelabh Srivastava, journalist.
The Union Cabinet today held its meeting and which was chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Among the very important decisions taken by the Cabinet was the Cabinet approving the setting up of a high-level committee for implementation of the Clause 6 of the Assam Accord of 1985 and which will ensure the measures that were envisaged in the Memorandum of Settlement 2003 and related issues of the Bodo community. How do you see this decision, Mr. Tandon?
See, as we know, the Assam Accord was signed in the aftermath of the 6 long years movement in Assam, which was anti-foreigners movement as we call it. And there was a clause 6 in that agreement which stipulates a constitutional protection to Assamese, and then also it assured that the people of Assam that the clause will protect, preserve and promote the cultural, social, linguistic identity and heritage of the people of Assam. Now, for the last some time, there has been apprehension being raised in Assam particularly that giving citizenship rights to Bengali Hindus from Bangladesh may adversely affect the cultural, linguistic and traditions of Assam. And the Home Minister has been assuring the people of Assam that the Clause 6 of the Assam Accord will be fulfilled and fully implemented in letter and spirit, and the government is committed to giving them full protection. Whatever is required to be done will be done administratively, legislatively and constitutionally. In that respect, today's cabinet decision of setting up a high-level committee to make changes in Clause 6 of the Assam Accord and to examine the effectiveness of the Assam Accord as well. So measures to protect Assamese heritage and indigenous languages is the brief given to this high-level committee. The composition of this and terms of reference of this committee will be issued separately by the Ministry of Home Affairs, and it is expected that the setting up of this high-level committee will pave the way for the implementation of the Assam Accord in letter and spirit and also fulfill the long-standing expectation of the people of Assam. So that way, this promise which was made to the people of Assam has been fulfilled, and Assam Chief Minister also has been pointing out towards that, and Centre has fulfilled the demand of the people of Assam. Now this committee will also assess the requirement of measures to be taken to protect Assamese and other indigenous languages of Assam, and the quantum of reservation in employment under the government of Assam and other measures to protect, preserve and promote cultural, social, linguistic identity and heritage of the people of Assam. So that is a very significant decision taken by the central government, and I am sure it will be hailed in Assam by all sections of the state. Particularly the Chief Minister Sarvanand Sonowal must be very happy that the promise on which his government was elected, the BJP government was elected for the first time in Assam, had promised this to the people of Assam, and with the help of the central government, now that promise is now going to be fulfilled. Once the recommendations of these committees are before the government, it will go a long way fulfilling the requirement and demands of the people of Assam.
The cabinet decision also talks about setting up of a Bodo Museum cum Language and Cultural Studies Center, which is also a part of this overall scheme.
The Prime Minister during his election campaign in 2014, Mr. Narendra Modi, had talked about the aspirations of the Eastern India and the Northeast, because the western part of India progress is satisfactory, but the east, particularly the states like Orissa and Assam and Northeast, they required more attention, and in that context the Prime Minister had in fact been deputing one minister or the other to visit Northeast at least once a week and assess the aspirations and the demands of the people of Northeast and fulfill whatever possibly needs to be done. In that context, the Bodo Museum cum Language and Cultural Studies Center and also modernization of the existing All India radio station and Doordarshan Kendra at Kokrajhar and naming of a superfast train passing through the BTAD and Aroni Express. Railway Ministry will take the required action to implement it, and other concerned ministries at the center will also be coordinating these efforts, and also the state government will take necessary measures related to appropriate land policy and land laws, besides setting up of institutions for research and documentation and customs and traditions and languages of the indigenous communities in Northeast. So basically the cabinet most important and landmark decision today was in respect of Assam and the Northeast as such. So this was a very significant move. This should satisfy the people of Assam of whatever apprehension they had in respect of their identity. The apprehension must now be put at rest, and they should be welcomed in Assam.
The other major decision was of the cabinet and also the cabinet committee on economic affairs was allowing the merger of the Vijaya Bank and Dena Bank into the Bank of Baroda, creating a new entity. This new entity will come into force from April 1st this year, and the amalgamation or the merger will make this bank as the third largest in the country, and as the government said that this will also help in creating a very global banking brand from the perspective of the Indian banking sector.
The successive governments have been talking about banking reform, but no concrete measures were taken till the Narendra Modi government came to power. And in that process, merger of some of the important public sector banks was on the cards for quite some time. And when it was first announced that the government proposes to merge the Vijaya Bank and the Dena Bank with Bank of Baroda, there was apprehension in the banking sector that perhaps it may lead to retrenchment of the existing employees and may also adversely impact the banking functioning service of the bank, and there were certain apprehensions in the minds of the account holders as well. And if I am not wrong, bank employees also were agitated, and when the decision was taken today in the cabinet, all apprehensions have been now laid to rest about any kind of retrenchment. So when briefing the media, Ravi Shankar Prasad said that the cabinet has taken a concerted and conscious decision to ensure that there will be no retrenchment in any of these three banks. All categories of employees will be protected. They will continue to work as employee of Bank of Baroda. There would be no problem as far as the account holders are concerned. There will be very smooth amalgamation, and it may be effective. Another significant, as you also mentioned, that new merged bank, which will be known as Bank of Baroda, which is existing bank, will now have its global operations as well. And since it will be now one of the largest banks, particularly after State Bank, so obviously the banking reform process now has been set in motion, and it should be welcomed by the employees of all the banks, because banking reform has been on cards for quite some time, and we do hope that this will be hailed by all the trade unions and the employees of these banks and other banks as well. At the same time, the account holders will also not face any problem.
The third major decision was also the Union Cabinet today approving the amendment to the Trade Unions Act of 1926, and in which there will be provisions regarding the recognition of trade unions. Kindly explain, Mr. Tandon, as to what this particular decision is.
India is the largest democracy, and in a democratic setup, there is always provision for trade union movement, and India has inherited trade union movement, and as we have seen over the last 70 years since independence, there have been very powerful and effective trade union movements affiliated largely initially to the left parties, and later on trade unions were affiliated to the Congress party also, and later on with the Bharatiya Mazdoor Sangh affiliated to the BJP. So these trade unions have been active in different sectors, and most of these trade unions, whether it is INTEC, ITEC or BMS or C2, they are all in a way recognized trade unions in their respective sectors. But today's decision will allow them to register with the government agencies, or for that matter the management of the companies or the institutions. So registration of trade unions will pave the way for a structured and institutionalized arrangement whereby the managements wherever they are, whether they are the government, the PSUs or others, whenever they want to enter into negotiations with the trade union, the registration will come very handy. The management would know whom to invite for the talks in case of any deadlock or any problem arising, maybe due to working conditions or the salaries, there could be strikes. So the registration is something which is very new to the trade union movement in India, and this also would be appreciated and welcomed by all the trade unions across the board, and this will in a way be a regulatory mechanism also. Not that anybody can come up as a trade union in any particular sector. So take for instance railway. Now railway has recognized various trade unions which are Railwaymen Federation, All India Railwaymen. So these trade unions now will get registered. So it's a very important decision taken by the Labour Ministry, as Mr. Santosh Gangwar, the Labour Minister, was explaining, that it will help the managements to negotiate with the registered trade unions rather than looking for who the right person is, because unfortunately in some of the trade unions there are rival factions as well. So once a particular trade union is registered, it will be recognized, and for all practical purposes that trade union will be negotiating.
The Union Cabinet also approved, talking about the health sector, the Union Cabinet also approved the restructuring of the existing National Health Agency as the National Health Authority, and I believe this is to ensure fast decision-making process for the rollout and implementation of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana.
We know that once some authority is set up, it enjoys certain autonomy. And so in that respect, this authority will enjoy autonomy, and in the implementation of all the government welfare schemes related to the health welfare. So it's a welcome step, and it's basically an arrangement in which the authority will be responsible and accountable for the implementation of the health schemes, which are basically to benefit the people. Because in India we have always been lacking health facilities, and the Ayushman Bharat or all these schemes, Arogya, these schemes now need effective implementation, and for implementation you need an authority. So therefore the authority has been created. Autonomy is given to such authorities. There is more transparency, there is more accountability, and less of corruption. Because the fear in these two major health schemes which have been initiated by the Modi government is that people feel that its implementation may lead to corruption. So once an authority has been set up, it will ensure there is a greater transparency, accountability, and without any corruption at any level. So it's a welcome step.
The Cabinet also approved a proposal to allot land to Chandigarh Housing Board for construction of over 3,000 apartments for the self-financing housing scheme for the employees of the Union Territories cadre. Apart from that, there was also a decision by the Cabinet about approving the constitution of the Scheduled Tribes Order for the Scheduled Tribes of Arunachal Pradesh. Would you throw some light on this?
So in that respect, this decision also again throws light about the importance which this government attaches to Northeast and welfare of the people of Northeast. So Northeast now is not feeling neglected. Practically every month or so there is one or the other welfare scheme for the people of Northeast, and that goes a long way to reassure the people of Northeast that Delhi is not far off. Now actually the government is reaching out and going to the doorstep of the people of Northeast to understand their problem, to assess their difficulties, and take appropriate measures and decisions by the central government to help the state governments also. And therefore most of the northeastern region is now getting connectivity, whether it is rail, road, or air connectivity, health schemes, education. Now all these gaps are being bridged. In fact, the biggest bridge the Prime Minister inaugurated the other day was a landmark development, and all these schemes relating to Northeast are welcome schemes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tandon.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on cabinet decisions. The participants were Ashok Tandon, political analyst, and Neelabh Srivastava, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website news.air.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.